Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with my final Rina Kent vlog. I finally did it. I read her entire backlist. So I am here with the last book of the Legacy of God series, God of War. I am only doing one book in this because I actually only did one book for God of Fury because I talked way too long and I loved that book so much. So this is just for God of War for this, but I can't believe it. I finally got through her backlist. I think it took me like 2 years to get through everything. But if you are interested or you don't know, I have vlogged every book. I have a playlist for Rina Kent's all her books. I vlogged every single one of them, so you could check it up. I'll put it in the cards here. But yeah, I can't believe I finally got here. I'm trying to finish this before the end of the year because I really want to hit that goal, finishing this. So I'm getting close here because it's going to be like, I have a couple days, I think. So hopefully I can fly through this one. I think it's going to be really hard to follow up God of Fury because that was a 6-star read for me and it was perfection. And I really don't know how I feel about Ava. I had some kind of like feelings for her throughout the series. And Eli, you really don't know much about him, so it's going to be interesting. So, obviously it's like a hate to love because she supposedly hates him. But anyways, I am still excited to get to this. I am so happy that I finally have gotten to the end. But, I'm going to keep reading Rina Kent because she's got new releases coming out in 2025 that I'm very excited for. So anyways, this is going to be my vlog for God of War. Hopefully it won't be as long as God of Fury, but who knows? So I will be checking in with you once I get started on this. And hopefully it'll be a good match or a good conclusion to this really great series. Hey guys, so I am here with my first check-in. I just started God of War this afternoon. And I'm reading this right after God of Fury because I had to really finish both of these before the end of the year. I really wanted to hit that goal of reading, Rina Kent's backlist and finishing it all by the end of the year. So usually I give myself a little bit of a break in between them, and I'm literally reading this right after God of Fury, which was a 6-star read. It literally wrecked me. And I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this one so far. It's taking me a while to get into it. And honestly, I think it has to do with it having like some type of amnesia thing going on because that really is not my favorite. I think this is going to be different than like a typical amnesia from what I've heard because this is between Ava and Eli King. And Ava, she's really suffers from mental health issues. And it's pretty dire. I don't think they've really Rina hasn't really explained the full extent of her condition yet. I think I'm about 30% through. So I'm not sure how bad it is, but it sounds pretty bad. It sounded like she needed medication, that she's, in the beginning of this book, it opens up with her basically out at the club, partying, just over drinking, kind of just trying not to feel. She played the cello and she would do competitions and she completely froze and kind of like blinked out and went to a different state and then just like ran out of the competition. So she's feeling like a failure and she didn't know what happened to her. And it sounds like she has some episodes and, I think she said some psychosis issues. So she's out partying it up. And if I remember, like one of the things that annoyed me about Ava was in, I think it was God of Wrath, was Cecily was like her best friend. And Cecily did like everything, like mothered her, catered to her. And I really didn't see Ava do a lot for Cecily. And then she was like super jealous of her and Jeremy. And it shows in this too, because Cecily's again at the club with her, trying to get her to go home. But Jeremy's there, like, wants his woman to leave, And it just really reminded me of, like, I didn't totally love Ava because she's done some pretty fucked up things, you know, and I didn't think she was the best friend. The best part of that book was when Jeremy calls her out and is like, you don't do anything for Cecily. Like, you're not a good friend to her. And I thought she needed to hear that truth. So I didn't know how I was going to feel about Ava, but mostly I just feel like she's such a lost soul and she's so struggling with mental health. But she's so focused on these stupid games that because she basically hated Eli. And the reason she hated Eli was because she was basically crushing on him since she was a child. He's quite a bit older than her. Not like, I think it might be 6 or 7 years. So, you know, obviously he wouldn't look at her like that when she was little. But she basically wanted to finally confessed her feelings to him when she was like 17, when everybody knew about it, and even Eli knew about it. Like, Creighton and them were like, don't tell him about your feelings because he knows and he doesn't care, and you're just going to break your heart. And so Creighton really warns her, but she still does it on like her 17th birthday. And she like is trying to tell him about how she feels, and he's completely dissing her. He says some really cruel things. And she tries to like forcibly like kiss him to show him she's grown up. And he was like very pissed and basically completely denied her, refused her, made her feel horrible. Now this reminds me a lot of another Rina Kent book. I can't remember the name of it. It was one I didn't like. But it was another one of those. I have a really hard time with unrequited love where it's the heroine that's just like pining for the guy forever. And in that one, it was like her dad's best friend. And on her birthday, when she came of age, she basically did this same thing. And he spurned her and was like, that could never happen. And I mean, that was like a big age gap. But, like, it completely devastated her, and he, like, wouldn't come around her anymore, and blah, blah, blah. So some of the stuff that's happening this is kind of reminding me, since I read the entire Rina Kent backlist of previous books mixed together in this. It's kind of reminding me of Adrian's book where his wife went crazy, because there's a lot going on here. I haven't even gotten to it. I'm just going off with some of my issues with it so far. Sorry. So the thing that happens in the beginning of this book is she's out partying. Eli is there. He like confronts her and he's like, you need to get home. And of course she won't go home because ever since he spurned her, she basically turned her obsession and crushing and love for him into like hate. So she's basically hated him. They have this contentious relationship. They always butt heads. But there's like obviously something there, but she just continues with the hate kind of feels. And so she does like decides to drive drunk, not listen to him, just out of spite. And she's going to go to an after party. And then there's somebody following her with like no lights on. So she starts, which this is smart. She actually called the police and was like letting them know where she was at. But then she kind of gets in an accident or whatever. And then she sees Eli and passes out. But then she wakes up and she's in the hospital and Eli is holding her hand and he has not touched her or let her touch him since like that time she came onto him. So she's like, what the fuck? And then, everybody's being weird because she doesn't really know what's going on. And it ends up being it's 2 years later and she, is married to Eli. And she's like, there's no fucking way I would marry him. Like, I would never marry this guy. So, but from hearing stories, it sounds like she kind of pursued this and wanted to marry him. Her parents kind of had to have like guardianship over her. It kind of sounds like she might be a Britney Spears type of situation where they kind of had to have almost a conservatorship over her or like guardianship because to make sure she's getting her medication and taking care of her mental health, because when she went off to this university on that island, she wasn't really taking her medication, so she was spinning out. So it's just really tough because she's very unwell, but now she's woken up and now she's forced to go live with Eli and she hates him. She's still of the mind of 2 years ago. And when they kind of explained and showed her pictures. They were like, yeah, you were just really cold at your wedding. It was like, and she even looked at herself and it didn't seem like her. So there's lots of these little hints like that we're trying to figure out what happened. How did they get married? Why did they get married? What's Eli's reasons for this? Like, he basically told her he needed a wife and she needed to get away from her parents so that she wouldn't keep bringing her parents down. And so they got married. But that doesn't seem like the whole story. So I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on. So when she is in the hospital, the whole reason she's in the hospital is she fell down the stairs or she threw herself down the stairs. We don't know. He basically fired the whole staff except for 2 trusted people and got all new staff, had everything cleaned out. Like, he's kind of hiding stuff from her. She was a severe alcoholic. Now she's not. Even though and you find out things that he did to control her life. She tried to go out drinking with her old party, Coke friends, and they wouldn't let her drink. And it's because they're all scared of Eli and she's not allowed to have alcohol. And she has this one friend that's crushing on Eli, but he's using her to get information on her. And then you also find out how he basically stopped any relationship she ever had from happening. So Eli's been very controlling and manipulative in her life. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But there was one scene where she was playing the cello and they were all freaked out because before she fell down the stairs, she was playing the cello. And she was kind of out of it, while she's playing. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want her to be that other person. And, she's kind of out of it. And, she has those episodes. And so I was like, oh, no. That's why it was reminding me of Adrian's romance trilogy, which I fucking hated that trilogy. And it was his wife basically had mental health issues. And she became, a whole different personality to escape who she was and was, living on the streets. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but there are a lot of little threads from previous books that is just kind of, I did really think it was sweet because she did mention when she was devastated when she was 17, she almost basically didn't want to live anymore. But Creighton and really held her and listened to her and helped her through that. And so did Cecily. So she basically just turned her devastation into pure hatred. But there are some really hot tension scenes between them. At one point, she's got to fight him at every turn. And that just gets kind of old where she's acts like a little brat. And I hate that. So those parts were getting kind of annoying. But she's acting like a brat and he's telling her to come sit down and she wouldn't. So he literally grabs her and sits her on his lap. And of course he's aroused. And she's like, what's that? And then another time she went out to lunch with Anika and Creighton, and she runs into kind of an ex-high school boyfriend, and they're chatting it up. And of course Eli shows up immediately and he's very possessive and basically tells the guy, kick rocks, get the fuck out of here. And she follows him and she decides to push the buttons even more by trying to kiss the guy. And so Eli grabs her and is just infuriated, ends up following her to the bathroom later, and she's still acting like a brat and because he's like, you're mine, you don't get to let another man touch what's mine. So he's very typical possessive, and he bends her over and spanks her and gets her off, and it's very hot. They have insane chemistry. He tried to play it off like they had already had sex in the last 2 years, but you could tell that they never did have sex. And she always played it up like she was kind of sledding around to piss Eli off in the past. But I don't think she ever even lost her virginity, from what I'm guessing. So I don't know. I'm okay. It's okay, but it's definitely giving me lots of other book vibes. So I'm hoping it gets a little bit more unique and goes in maybe a different place than what I was expecting. I'm just not a fan. And Rina's also done the amnesia thing before, and I just didn't like that one either. I'm just not the biggest fan of amnesia. So I'm hoping it's something a little bit more interesting. So anyways, I'm going to keep reading, and then I'll probably check in with you guys tomorrow because it's already kind of late at night. Hopefully my lighting's not too bad here, but so far it's interesting. But it's a huge act to follow follow God of Fury. Like, honestly, that probably should have been the last book in the series, and this could have been like a side one because that one was perfection. Anyways, all right, I'll check back in with you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, so I am doing a check-in. I didn't get much reading done yesterday in God of War here. I had to get up super early for work because I worked an earlier shift for New Year's Eve because we got off like at 1. So I had to be at work at 5 and I live pretty far. So anyways, all that to say, I didn't get as far as I want, but I'm halfway through and I don't have a ton to say, honestly. Like, I feel like nothing is really happening. It feels kind of stagnant. It feels like, I don't know, it's just not hitting me. We are still dealing with her not knowing any of her memories. Eli's keeping things hidden. He obviously cares about her more than he shows. Like, we're seeing all these hints of like, he did do some caretaking. He would have to help her through her like episodes, but then he also was like one of her triggers, so then he would keep himself away from her because he doesn't want to trigger a worse episode. But she is kind of doing a little bit better, but still, like, also she doesn't know, is this a memory or is this like an illusion or one of her psychosis issues? So I don't know, it's kind of dragging for me because I honestly don't really feel like anything is happening. She's still like, I hate him and I'm gonna act like a brat, and it's just kind of like everyone around her is like, you've loved him for years, like, you want him, and she's like, no, I hate him and I'm gonna have a master plan to go back at him. And then like her master plan was to not fight him anymore and then like make him want her, and then she's gonna leave him. And I'm just like, it's very childish kind of behavior, so it's kind of hard for me to get behind Ava. But I do think he is very interesting. He does like have very possessive feelings for her. And she at one point, she's like, okay, well, if we're going to make this work, if you don't want this to be fake, like a fake marriage, like, you need to woo me. And he's like, well, I don't really do that. Why would I woo you? You're my freaking wife, you know? But he does kind of take her out on a date and stuff like that. And then what's weird is she goes outside by herself and this old, almost homeless looking lady comes up to her and is like blaming her for what she did to her. But then when he comes out, she's gone. So she's like, was that lady even here? And she has like a panic attack because she doesn't know what's real and what's not. And so that must just be so horrible to live like that. So yeah, she had a memory where she was like cheating on him maybe, but I think she's actually a virgin. And then we do figure it out later because she did have this memory and she told like that one friend of hers that's like a party friend that like spies on her for him. And that girl of course runs to Eli and tells him what she told her. And they happen to be at this gala, and she's talking to that guy again. I don't even know if I brought it up, but there's this one guy that, like, you know, at the restaurant he lost his shit over, and it was like a previous friend or whatever, but you could tell this guy wants more. And so she is talking to him, and he like loses it and comes and punches him, and he's like, is that the guy you fucking cheated on me with? And so and we've been dealing with like almost hookups so many times because Eli wants her, but he knows it could like trigger her or it could turn bad real quickly. So like he always stops himself. I mean, he went down on her at one point and then he like abandoned her and left to like the United States for a week. So she constantly feels like there could be something, and then she feels kind of rejected. But at this event, he basically throws her into a room, and he's like, I'm done with this waiting. And he's like, this is my pussy, this is my tits, blah, blah, blah. And so he goes to have sex with her and then realizes she's a virgin. And so he goes to stop, and she's like, well, don't stop. Like, you literally took my virginity. Let's do this. And so, like, her first time is being like taken up against a wall in like a storage room. So that wasn't great, but she still liked it because it was Eli. So it's like she needs to come to terms with the fact that she does want him and she likes him, because I'm getting kind of tired of this back and forth. I hate him. Oh, he shall not be named. And it's just so petty and childish. So and then she like basically pretends to pass out. So he like takes her up and he like gives her a bath. He gets in the bath with her, takes care of her, and like dresses her and puts her to bed. And she's kind of like confused, like, has he done this for me before? So it's obvious that Eli has been really the one who got her off of alcohol, who's basically took care of her and through all her issues. So I don't know. That's kind of, I don't have a lot to say, you guys, for once, even though this is already like 5 minutes. I just feel like nothing's really happening in this book, and it's really kind of just dragging for me, when the last book was longer and it felt like perfect. Every moment was amazing. So I don't know. I'm hoping it gets a little bit better, but so far it's not one of my favorites. So we'll see how it goes. I just don't really love the amnesia trope, and we're still dealing with the amnesia, and we're like 50% through the book. So I'd like to get somewhere at some point here. Okay, anyways, I'm going to go read this, and then I'm going to probably just check in when I finish it. I doubt there'll be anything that's going to blow me away like God of Fury did, where I had to do an extra check-in. All right, I will see you guys once I finish this. Hey guys, I am here with my final check-in for God of War. And honestly, I don't even know how much I can say about this book or kind of what happens at the end. I don't even remember where I really left off in my last check-in. It kind of all blended together for me because I felt like this book just really dragged on for me. I don't really know how I feel about this book, because it kind of just went on and on. I honestly thought it was pretty boring through like most of the middle of this book. We don't really, like, it's a lot of push and pull. It's a lot of her wanting a relationship with him not wanting to do it, and her acting like a brat and all that kind of stuff. So I think this vlog is going to be kind of not giving you as much information about what's going on in the book, because I think I just got so frustrated with it. So I apologize if you want more plot points and spoilers like I usually give. I don't really know if I'm just not feeling up to it. So I'm not going to be giving you, I didn't even write any notes on this one like I've been doing with the other ones. So it, and I didn't hate it. I just want to say that Ava was pretty frustrating, and I do feel for her and her mental health issues, but she acted like a brat, a little spoiled little bitchy brat, and like poked and prodded and just tried to like fuck with Eli, who's literally running a huge company and dealing with pressures from his father wanting him to be, on all focused in. And Eli has to focus so much of his time and energy on her because he's worried about her safety and her mental health. And a lot is revealed about Eli and what he's had to do and why they got married and all that kind of stuff. But that all comes like near the end of the book. And I thought that the amnesia, like not knowing what happened the last 2 years, it really went on. And we didn't even get to the reveal of why she didn't remember, like what happened. Till I felt like way late in the book. And then it was very rushed to like do like their kind of third act breakup and her going to try and get healthy. But I mean, so that was part of my problem. They did like get into a pretty good sexual relationship for a while after he, she loses her virginity to him, but she had issues because he would only fuck her from behind and all that kind of stuff. And she wanted more of an emotional connection. And so I don't know, like I'm skipping over so much stuff, you guys, I'm sorry. But I'm just going to go into what really happened with them and how she basically had gotten in an accident, but it wasn't really the accident. Like I was thinking, okay, maybe she got in that accident and then she, hurt somebody and he maybe like blackmailed her to marry him. And basically that accident, she didn't like, her car didn't get damaged. She basically almost, hurt somebody, but went off to the side of the road. And this guy that she was at the club with, that was like one of her friends, basically follows her, and he tries to rape her because she flaunts her shit and never puts out and never does anything. And that's when Eli comes upon this, and he beats him to death. And so he was like, well, if I go down, you go down. So like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. He basically threatened her that she had to marry him so he would keep the secret of this whole thing, which was kind of whatever. And then on like their wedding day, he like literally threatened her because she wouldn't want to go through with it. And he was like, I'll slit your throat and blah, blah. Like, it was just kind of crazy. And that's not like, and so she was supposedly scared of him during those 2 years of their marriage because she thought he would kill her. But then she was also having mental instability issues. But the whole reason is he wanted to marry her, get guardianship of her, and protect her, and trying to keep her out of like, institutions. She tried to kill herself in an institution one time. So when that happened, he completely like took over everything. And then the whole event of how she like lost her memory was she was basically in a really bad state, and she tried to stab him, and then she fell down the stairs. And so like she was like stabbing him to make him leave her, blah, blah, blah. So, she basically like has been such a mess, has so many mental psychosis issues that Eli doesn't even sleep because he's worried about her getting up and accidentally hurting herself or anything. So this guy has literally devoted his life to like taking care of her. And so that's why it's really hard when she acts like a brat and I hate you. And it's just so fucking annoying. And the whole reason he like stayed away from her and like would fuck her from behind and stuff was because he felt like he was a trigger for her episodes. And so that's kind of why he did that. Okay, sorry, I had something in my throat. So anyways, they like come into this final where she remembers everything, confrontation with him, and she had like broken glass and was like walking on the glass, and he's freaking out for her safety, and she literally like threatens him that she's gonna kill herself if he doesn't divorce her and let her go. And so he does that because he's so worried, and she ends up going back to her parents and deciding that she's going to check into the and basically be an institute and do this like of course there's some new procedure, some whatever that she could get done that might help her. So that just seems a little convenient to me. But so she basically goes away, and he is like visiting her every night because she doesn't want to see him at first, but she wants to see him. And then she's mad that he didn't come visit her, but like she was divorcing him. It's just, Ava's character is just a little much for me. And so it was really hard to connect to her. But he's like keeping an eye on her, visiting her every night, like when she's asleep. And so he's just waiting for her to get better, and hopefully they could be together. So, it's like 5 months, 6 months or whatever. And she does get out, and that, new, testing thing that she went through did help, and she's found a good medication. And so she comes back out, and they end up getting back together. So like, I'm really summing it up, but I did think it was nice the end where they're like talking about everything, and she realizes how much he did for her to keep her safe and to try and take care of her. And so, they admit they love each other and all that kind of stuff. So, but that happens pretty much, like all this stuff happens like near the end of the book, where I thought it would have been better if it was like through the middle and we're working through those things, and then her going in the institute and trying to get better isn't just this rushed at the end thing. So I don't know. I didn't love this book. I didn't hate it. I did like Eli a lot. I think he was a really good hero. But he just didn't blow me away like the other heroes of the series. And then you're following it up after God of Fury or going to this, and it just didn't hit the same for me. I mean, that book was so emotional and moving and 6-star read for me. And this one was just like, okay. And my biggest complaint about this is maybe you wouldn't know if you haven't read her entire backlist like I was doing, but I felt like the books that I didn't like of hers were like all mishmashed into this. Like the one where the daughter didn't like had a crush on the dad's friend and kissed him and he spurned her and hated him. And then like, you know, the amnesia, a couple amnesia ones, then like the crazy like wife that had different personality. Like it's just all this stuff in here just kind of didn't work for me. So anyways, all that to say, I still gave it 4 stars because I did like their connection at the end. I loved all the stuff at the end, but it was very disappointing compared to the previous book. So I think I'm a little harder on it, but I know a lot of people really love this book, but it was just kind of tough for me. So I gave it 4 stars and I gave it 3.5 chilies. So I think it was decent. I just don't think, I wish it would have been like a different series because this isn't even at the school really. Like, so it's like, why is this in the same series? I felt like it would have been better as a spin-off series, and we would have ended with like God of Fury would have been like the perfect ending to that series. But anyways, it was great seeing Brandon and Nikolai in this, you know, seeing the other characters. It was really good. But anyways, so I did it. I actually finished my Rina Kent, you know, vlogging journey. Again, I'm very excited for her new releases. You know, so definitely excited to finally have done this. It's been a long time coming. I think it took me a couple years, but we are here. So if you have finished this journey with me, I do appreciate you. If you've watched any of my Rina Kent vlogs, I know they can be a lot sometimes and I ramble and go on and on. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and let me know what you thought about this book. If you had any issues with it like I did, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority. Anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys on the next one.